Okay, it's reporting to the cloud now. A little bit of luck. All right. With us today is John Fadley. For those who may not know us and are looking at this, the XJ community is a network of lawyers who found success in their chosen non-legal careers, all interacting with one another on the site. And one of the things we're always amazed by is the sheer breadth of the alternative paths that our members have taken. John is a perfect example. John, if you could please share what you do and how you came to it.
Sure, Neil, and happy to be here. So after 25 years of practicing as a private funds lawyer in large U.S. firms, mostly in Asia, so Hong Kong and Singapore, um, I decided to leave the law firm practice, although I do continue to consult for a few clients, and pursue a career in writing and publishing. So starting in 2019, I began to write poetry, and after about 5 years, was able to publish my first book of poetry, which came out in April this year. It's called Before Leaving the Island,
Wow.
and it's available Amazon, Barnes and Noble, other such channels. And I also decided to found a small press called Fifth Stanza Press, which specializes in publishing first and second collections of poetry by people in midlife or later, so roughly in their 40s or later, sort of as a second act after having done something else in their lives, career-wise or something else.
That is terrific. Extending others what you have found. That's sort of out of curiosity, John. Did you have a background writing poetry? Had you all along your entire life sort of written and just not obviously published it anywhere, but just for enjoyment?
I wrote through the end of college and then decided to set it aside because I felt I didn't have enough life experience to really write anything all that interesting. I revisited it in 2019 when I was practicing law in Hong Kong during the civil unrest there.
Oh,
And at that time, decided to start a simple daily meditation practice just to deal with some of the stresses of that. And hand in hand with that, I started writing again. Then during COVID, I was separated for long periods of time from my family because of the quarantine restrictions in Hong Kong. And when I had downtime in Hong Kong, I started to take online courses, the so-called MOOCs, massive open online courses, one of which was a course called ModPo, offered through the University of Pennsylvania. Got to know the people who ran the course, especially the professor there, Al Filreis, who founded it, and through them found an editor, Autumn McClintock, who was absolutely wonderful, helped me really develop my work, and also ultimately became the editor in chief of my poetry press.
very cool. Let's talk a minute, John, about your journey, your physical journey. What took you to Asia, um, and how much time you spent there, and yeah, if you could just speak to that a little bit, that'd be great.
Sure. I spent a total of 30 years in Asia, 25 of which was spent working as a lawyer. And of those 25 years, I was a partner for 18 years. What took me originally to Asia was really just curiosity as an undergrad. I went to a school that happened to have a really great East Asian studies program and supported me in learning Mandarin Chinese over the summer in one case. And then I actually took a full year after my junior year to do that before returning to graduate.
So you're, of course, fluent.
I'm fluent in Mandarin Chinese. I can read Japanese, used to be able to speak it relatively well, not fluently, uh, fluent in Chinese, and also actually um, in classical Chinese, which is a bit different from modern Chinese language, and I'm translating along with a good friend of mine an illustrated book of Tang Dynasty poems. So these are poems that were written about 12, 1300 years ago
Wow.
into English, hopefully for publication next year.
That is really, again, cool is the word that comes to mind. Talk about the community for a second, John. How did you find out about what we're doing? We were only live about 5 months or so, the EXJ community.
Just through Google search. So I work with a publicist on my book, and we decided that it would make sense to try to reach out to groups that foster cooperation among people who either want to leave the practice of law, do something else, could be adjacent, could be completely unrelated to law, um, or people who've been out of law for some period of time and just want to stay in touch. And we easily found ex judicata. So it seemed like a great fit just to talk. I've become a member. I hope
Did that.
to actively participate, and not just necessarily with people who have practiced law and might be interested in writing poetry, short stories, novels, memoirs, etc., but also people who may want to continue to consult on their own and use the expertise that they developed in some closely adjacent area.
Oh, that'd be great. Because one of the things we want to do, John, is we'll definitely put you to work. We want to sort of hopefully develop subgroups within the community. So yours could be creative writing, it could be poetry. I mean, we could determine what to call it, but that would be great. But first, as we stand at it, closing in on 1,400 members, we got to get to probably 5,000 or so before we can start to segregate groups or set up groups, I think. Um, but then again, there's no harm in maybe trying. So it's something to think about for you. Um, Question that I was going to ask you pretty much already answered, and that's what resonated with you about the XJ community. What struck home?
Well, I like the fact that there are advisors who, can offer practical help with resumes, with career direction, etc. And I also like the fact that there was sort of a practical bent to the whole community. I mean, people are focused not just on talking about what they want to do next, but actually figuring out how to do it.
Which leads to the next question. What would you personally most like to get out of the community? Because one of the things that we definitely will do is we will promote your work through links in your interview and also through some direct mail. We send out a lot of direct mail pieces, so we'll include some links there. Um, uh, and actually, as I think about it, John, entirely up to you, and that would be to offer members 10% discount if they purchase your book. Again, it's totally up to you, and it may not even be possible if it's through Amazon. I just kind of throw it out there.
Yeah, I that would be great if Amazon and the other retailers allow it. Look, there's a lot of great writers um, who have gone into law. Um, One of my favorite poets is named Wallace Stevens, and Wallace Stevens practiced as an insurance lawyer for his entire career as a poet, and a marvelous poet he was. He was also a very, very good lawyer. There are lots of people who have training as lawyers and write poetry or other forms of fiction, or for that matter, nonfiction, because legal training is really great for helping train one's brain to communicate clearly. Now, there is some rewiring in my case that had to happen so that I could embrace and make use of the ambiguity that you often need when you're writing a poem. Metaphor isn't necessarily something that we use a lot in legal writing, for example, but Nonetheless, the training was really important. That ability to look at what you have on the page and ask yourself which words or sentences are necessary and which aren't, and how they contribute to what you're trying to communicate to your reader. So I suspect that there probably are lawyers, including practicing lawyers, who hope to practice longer, who are also writing on the side, and also lawyers who have decided to write full time or part time after finishing up the phase of their career where they're practicing law.
We have a few members, a small percentage that are currently still practicing, but they belong because they want to transition or are really thinking seriously about transitioning to doing something else. What advice might you give people like that are on the fence, John, that I put my time in here. I feel like there's other stuff that I would like to do, but I don't know where to begin. That's the question that we get a lot. Where do I begin?
Well, just first, I guess the basic observation that as a lawyer, you've developed skills, and you could use those skills in adjacent areas that might be of value to people you already know, or people with say 1 or 2 degrees of separation. You could consult. You could go into an adjacent field and be very effective, and you might be happier. It might be the reset that you're looking for. And I would also say, don't forget about what interested you before you went into law. So if the civil unrest in Hong Kong and the COVID pandemic hadn't happened, as awful as those things were, I probably would not have been jolted out of my law practice, which was successful for a long time, and started writing. But when I was given that jolt, I naturally went back to interests that I had had for a long time, but had set aside. So don't underestimate the ability to, revive those interests if it's something you want to do, and maybe take them somewhere.
It's a really good
After
point.
all, it is who you are as a person, most likely. So stick
Yeah,
to that.
and who you are as a person is something that often, or not often, quite often can get lost in just the day-to-day practice of law, especially in a large firm. There's so little time for contemplation. So it truly is a challenge to get people who are in the midst of it to contemplate making that move and then finally taking a step. To your point about perhaps returning to things that one might have thought about before, just here to the EXJ community, I wanted to do this when I worked at Mudge Rose law firm doesn't exist anymore, for a few months, and knew that I didn't want to do it. And one of the things that I wanted to do was find other lawyers who had already left the practice that I could talk to, that I could help me figure out where best to maybe utilize my skill set. But life moved on and had to get a job, a bunch of other things, put it aside. So it's really all these years later, 2022, that we decided to launch Ex Judicata and the community, and an idea that I was carrying with me for such a long time. To your point, this is so well taken. I was going to ask if there's something that you'd like to contribute to the community, but you already have answered that, John. Uh, there's a lot that we can definitely have you join us in reaching out to people that in particular that are interested in creative writing.
Yeah. And the only other thing I would add is, in the midst of sometimes violent protests happening around us in Hong Kong in 2019, I sought out the local Transcendental Meditation group, took 3 simple lessons in how to meditate, something I'd also done as a young person, but set aside for, I think, 3 decades, and continue to meditate maybe 20 minutes a day. Sometimes I do it twice if I have time. I've always found that actually meditating ends up saving me time, because it often opens up sort of realizations about how to deal with situations, challenges, that I then end up implementing and just get better results in my life. So I would just, not that I don't represent the Transcendental Meditation group. There are lots of ways to meditate, but mental health certainly has always been a big focus in the legal profession and generally. But I would just encourage people who are thinking about taking another direction in their career to not be afraid to just sit down quietly, do a simple meditation practice, and see where that goes. In any event, no harm will result.
That's that is really terrific advice. I should have picked up on that earlier when you mentioned it, because so much of the community is really about living your best life after law. It sounds like meditation can definitely be a part of the overall wellness in living that best life after law. Were you meditating all throughout working for large firms?
No, I wasn't, and I wish I had. I think it could have only made my career even better, if not more successful by conventional measures. Then I probably would have enjoyed it even more. But no, I only started meditating in 2019, and once I did that, I found that um, interpersonal situations that you always encounter when you're working in any business organization, it was it I just created more space for myself to react in some cases more slowly, more deliberately, maybe in a more circumspect way, and to deal with those sorts of problems effectively. It also became a source of ideas for writing and even practical ideas as well. Of course, it's not a brainstorming session. Meditation really is the process of learning how to observe your own thoughts and let them go. But I think there was some mental rewiring that needed to happen, and you come out the other end of that process still being able to do all the lawyering that you could do when you started. You can just do other things as well, or do them a bit better.
That is again terrific, and I think it's another area we may put you to work. And we have on the website articles in the wellness area, webinars in the wellness area. We may task you with perhaps doing a short piece on meditation and what how it's helped you, what it means to you, because I think it's fascinating and fits right in with what we're trying to do here in living your best life. So this is great. John,
I'd be happy to.
I really appreciate this. I really appreciate you taking the time. Um, I think it's fascinating what you're doing. We'd love to help spread the word. Again, part of the articles and any emails that we send out will include links to your work or whatever links you want. And we'll just kind of run with it.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. Thanks again. Enjoy the holiday weekend. Stay safe, and we'll circle back with you. And well, I'll send you everything next day or two.
Okay. Well, thank you. This has been wonderful, and look forward to hearing from you. Enjoy the holidays.
My pleasure. Thanks again, John.
All right. Take care, Neil.